In this video, I'm going to give you a method to arrange any loop into a full track, no matter what genre you're making or how stuck you are. So lock in, bro, because this is the exact system I've used myself and with many of my coaching clients to get them unstuck from the 8-bar loop. And it literally works 100% of the time. I'm not even kidding. But this method, it's not gonna be fun. It's gonna be boring. But it is gonna work. So what is this method? I've called it the AAA system. Assess, analyze, and apply. First things first, we need to assess and identify what kind of song you want to make in the first place. The arrangement would be different depending on the vibe you want to achieve. For example, in ambient music, everything is going to evolve much more slowly. Whereas if you take something like dubstep, it's gonna be like lasers everywhere, a ton of changes happening constantly. And there's no right or wrong here, it's just two different artistic directions. So I want you to ask yourself what kind of vibe or genre you're going for. Take your loop that you've made and literally listen to it right now. I'm serious, go do it. So now, we need to find a reference track in a similar style. Basically just an existing piece of music that you love listening to. And that's in a similar style. Don't overthink this though. You don't have to find like the perfect match. We just need something to go off of. So pause the video again and go find your reference track. Cool. Now I'm gonna show you what I have for myself. So I've got this loop right here. It's kind of housey, groovy, like upbeat and happy. So I'm choosing this track as my reference because it's got a similar vibe. And honestly, I just love listening to it. Now we can move on to step 2. Analyze. This is the really boring part, but this is also where you're gonna learn the most about arrangement that you've ever learned. If you don't, you can dislike this video. But if you do... And this step is called analyze, not without reason. We're literally going to be analyzing the arrangement of that track you chose. But there is a very specific way to do it. So pay attention. It's going to get a bit technical, but trust me, it's worth it. First off, you want to download the reference track you chose in step 1. I've got mine here. I got it from Beatport. And yeah, you want to put it into a new empty Ableton project, just like I did right now. And let's turn warp mode off for this track so it doesn't get stretched in any weird ways. We don't want to alter the reference track. And right now, when I just play it like this, I'm going to play with the metronome. Yeah, you can hear that it's completely out of sync, like it's absolutely not syncing up with the tempo of the project. So it's not counting the measures properly, and that's going to be a problem. We need to make sure that the tempo of the project is the same as the actual track. You can just look it up. Usually you should be able to just search for the track name BPM. Yeah, so I just put the track name and BPM after it, which is beats per minute. So that's the tempo. And we can see that it is 126 BPM. So now we can set the project tempo to 126 as well. See? Now it matches with the metronome. Good stuff. Now, the next step is to just listen to it and take notice of what elements are actually present in here. So right now I can hear some drums going on. There's the kick. There's some hi-hats and like a clap going on. So we can now create some empty MIDI clips to represent each of those elements. So I'm gonna make a kick, one for the hi-hats and one for the clap. And now, because we're basically just wanting to map out when each element is playing, so because the kick and because all of these elements are playing in this part, I can actually just create empty MIDI clips right here Oh, let's just move it over. Yeah, I can create empty MIDI clips right here to represent them. And see over here at this point, there's a new open hat being added, so I want to reflect that in the arrangement. Then the kick is being taken away at this point. And then the bass comes in right here. So we also need to make a new MIDI track for the bass. And everything carries on, I think. Yep. So like, you get the idea. We're just mapping this stuff out. We're not remaking the composition. We're just visually mapping out what is playing and when it's playing. Oh, sorry, I didn't name that one. And then you just keep going, honestly, like keep listening and keep mapping out what elements are present. Yeah, we've got some stabs. This is going to require a lot of attentive listening from you, so don't worry if it takes you like a couple playthroughs to get this right. This is probably going to take a while to do, so I'm probably just going to do a quick time lapse. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I've done it. This is what it should look like, roughly, more or less. I'm sure I've made like a couple mistakes, so what I want to do now is I want to listen through again and make sure that everything is actually correct. So let me do that right now. Okay, so it was pretty much alright. I did miss like the little snare rolls the first time around, so that was like a little detail, but yeah, looking good. This map doesn't have to be like completely perfect, but analyzing the track like this will just give you a ton of insight into what's actually happening in there, what the artists are doing. Like, for example, I was particularly surprised by this little counter melody. Yeah, it just kept appearing throughout the track as like a theme towards the end of the bar. So I actually learned something. I wouldn't, like, that's not something I usually do. So that's pretty cool, you know. I'm gonna have another trick up my sleeve. But yeah, now we can move on to step 3. This is where you take that arrangement structure that you've just analyzed and you apply it to your own music. There's a very specific way to do it, and before I show it to you, I just have to address something, because I already know some fucking purists are gonna leave some comments on this video like, it's not creative, you have to be yourself. Yeah, I know. It is not creative. That's the whole fucking point. You don't have to make the decisions yourself, so it's much easier to get unstuck. But here's the thing. The first few times you do it, it is gonna be not creative. But the more reps you put in, the more you're gonna be able to make your own creative decisions. This exercise, because that's really what this is, it's just pretty much an exercise. It just teaches you what's possible in the arrangement. Like, bro, think of it like this. If you're learning how to improvise jazz on a piano, you don't just sit down and suddenly start improvising out of thin air. It takes a lot of knowledge and intuition. You would probably start by learning some jazz standards and some of the most common chord progressions, right? But that's copying. You're copying someone else. Come on. I mean, how stupid do you have to be? Of course you're copying someone else, but like, what's the wrong in that? In that copying, you learn so much. You learn the chords, like the most basic building blocks of jazz, as well as how you can connect them to make them sound good. You learn what's possible. I've been trying to learn jazz piano myself recently. So far, I've mostly just been going through the chord shapes and just like trying to go through them to get them into my fingers. But over time, I noticed I could start experimenting with connecting some of the chords that I've learned into some unique chord progressions. Because the more you learn, the more your brain makes connections, you know, between those things that you learn, so that then you can combine that shit into your own damn thing. That comes with time, and it's the exact same for arrangement. You first have to learn the words of a language before you go writing your own damn novel. Okay? Damn, this is a whole ass rant I just went on. Yeah. Okay, well, coming back to the topic at hand. How do you apply the structure of the reference track to your track? Well, contrary to what you might think, I don't want you to just mindlessly copy everything one-to-one. Although, I guess you could do that, but I've actually developed a method that will make you improve much, much faster. First off, you want to come back to this arrangement analysis project that you've made, and you want to start breaking it down into sections. So, for example, this first part, where there's not that much going on, it's pretty bare bones, there's just some drums coming in, and the energy is slowly building. So I would say that this is kind of the intro. And then this part, where they take away the kick for the first time, and like the energy feels like it's going down, I would say that's kind of like a breakdown. Then moving on, we have our first drop, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So then you would want to pull up your notes app and start describing those sections. So you want to describe how long it is. So for the intro, I think it's like around 64 bars in our case, and like what's happening and what elements are present. So mostly drums, then a few stabs get introduced. And also, what does the overall energy of the track feel like in this section? In this track, in this intro, I would say the energy is building. It's slowly rising. And you also want to take notice of the interesting little things that surprise you. For example, in this drop, the kick is being taken away twice at the end of each 16-bar phrase. So we can make a note of that. So here's an example of how we could fill that out. There's definitely more things I could add onto here, but that's the gist of it. So once you have that, you can go back into your track and start applying it. Start using this framework that you've just laid out. So intro, break, drop, break number 2, drop number 2, outro, and start following these guidelines. So then you've got your track fully arranged. And this is where the framework really helps, because even if your track doesn't have all the same elements as the reference track, you can still follow the energy, like the overall vibe of the section. Like, is it rising or is it falling? Does it feel empty or full? That's what matters, okay? So you gotta pay attention to that. And this way, you're not copying, okay, you kind of are, but it's kind of like you're translating the structure of that other track's arrangement to your own arrangement. And in doing so, you understand it on an entirely different level. If you use this AAA framework, I literally cannot imagine a scenario where you would not get unstuck. Like, I mean, it's literally the most brain dead thing. You're literally stealing. That's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I already went on a big rant about all that, but once you're ready to start creating your own arrangements, that's where it can start to feel a bit complicated. So to help you with that, I've actually laid out 7 of my best arrangement hacks that you can use in your next project. And I've compiled them all into this video. So click here right now to watch it, and I'll see you there. Cheers.